I think the code we've written is pretty good, but the final result does not look very good. So in this video, I just want to show a few quick examples of how we can make this look a little more modern. And don't worry about memorizing any of this. Instead, it's just good to know that some of these options exist. And there's a huge amount of customization you can do to Matplotlib figures. So you could spend a whole course just learning about different customizations. I'm not familiar with probably 95% of them, so I'm just going to show you some of the most basic ones. So if you look at this, what would you say looks worst about it? If you had to say like something in particular that looks bad? I'd say the most obvious thing that looks bad is the fact that these numbers are getting cut off, like this 2 is getting cut off. So never quite understood why this is called what it's called, but it's called tight layout. I mean, I feel like the problem with this is that it's too tight. But what we're going to do is we're going to say fig.tight layout, this method. And that already looks a lot better. And I'd say there is something bad about how I've done this. And so let me put it into a new cell. So there's only one figure here. There's one figure and 6 axes on that figure. And here I'm calling this fig.tight layout each time through the for loop. So I'm calling this 6 times. I don't think that really makes sense because there's only one figure. So I only want to do this once. Okay, so important thing isn't having this line break here. That's just to make it a little more readable. The important thing is getting rid of the indentation. So this tells Python, do this after you're done with the for loop. And it's going to look exactly the same. Okay, good. And let me copy this, and then we'll do something else. So let me show you how we can add a legend to each of these axes. So I want to add a legend saying, what is the value of k for this axes object? And so I'm going to say label equals. And one thing I don't like about Matplotlib is that there are often many different ways to do things, like how we saw you could just call plt.plot instead of plt.subplots and then ax.plot. So this label is another example. I'm sure there are other ways to do this, but this is the one I'm familiar with. So I want to say what k is. I'm going to use an f string, and I'll say k equals k. Okay, so this one will be displayed as a k. This one will be displayed as whatever the value of k is. And nothing is going to happen if I just do this. So instead, let me have ax.legend. So do you see what happened here? Because there are 6 different of these axes, and I have this outside of the for loop. This was only happening for the last axis. Okay, so I really need this to be indented so it's inside of the for loop. Okay, so let's fix that. And now all of these different legends are showing up, all 6 of them, but looks a little strange. So let's tell Matplotlib that we always want the axes to be in the upper right. So for this legend, let's add location equals upper right. And in a previous version of this video, I made a mistake and I had a hyphen here between upper and right, but you really need it to be spelled exactly like Matplotlib wants it to be spelled. And definitely don't try memorizing that. Just know this option exists, and then worst case scenario, use Google search to find it. Okay, so I would say this is looking a little better. Let me show you how we can check or how we can change the colors of these if we want. So I think I lied in an earlier video when I said we were always going to use PLT. We were never going to use the higher level module of Matplotlib. Here we are going to get some of the built-in colors in Matplotlib. So let me say from matplotlib.colors import, and then I hope that autocomplete works in this case. So I've written TA, and then I hit tab and it auto-completed to tab colors or Tableau colors. And most of the abbreviations we use are standard. This is just one that I believe I'm making up. Hey, maybe I saw it somewhere, but I don't think this is standard. Hey, probably because this is not a standard. It's not used so often, probably. Okay, so let me show you what this T colors is. Okay, if I hadn't done this as T colors, then we would have to be writing this in all capital letters. So it's a dictionary, and it specifies the different colors that Matplotlib uses by default. Okay, these Tableau colors. So for example, if I scroll up to here, this is starting out with blue. This is with k equals 1. Then it goes twice as fast in this orange color. Okay, and if we scroll down here, see blue and then orange and so on. And so let me show you how we can get some of these. For example, if I just want these initial elements, I could do tcolors.keys. Hey, this whole thing is a dictionary, and if I call the keys method on this dictionary, then looks a lot like a list, but it's not a list. It's this object, and it gives me these different elements. Hey, do you know what I would call if I wanted to get these next parts here? Hey, what these are called? They're called the values. Okay, so let's add something involving those Tableau colors to this. And I think I was also wrong in a previous video when I said when you zip things together, they all have to be the same length. I think I was just wrong about that. So for example, here, this is definitely length more than 6. But let's put it in here. And so here we're going to get an error. And it says, too many values to unpack, expected 2. And why is that? Well, this is the 2 that it's talking about. But here I'm giving it 3 different things. I'm giving it a value of k, like k equals 1. I'm giving it an axis. And I'm also giving it a color, okay, a string color. And so let's fix that. And let's call it color. And so I want to use the color somewhere, and we use it inside this plot method. And C is what we call it. So we'll say C equals color. Okay, and that's kind of fun. And notice that also in the legend, the color shows up correctly. And so in theory, these that we see here, I believe they should be the same as what we saw up above in this one. So that it should be like a spread out version of this plot here. Okay, I think I just have a couple more things I want to show you. Let me show you how to add a title to this. So I think the most common one is to add a title to the axes. So need to do that inside of the for loop. And I'll say ax.set title equals y equals cosine kx. Okay, so that added 1 to each of these 6 axes objects. For this particular one, since they all have the same title, might make more sense to do it on the figure instead. So let me cut this and let me paste it down here. And I'm going to say, okay, I wish these names to me seemed a little more consistent. But fig.soup title, okay, with no underscore here. And then the argument to that is going to be the title we want to give it. Okay, so that gave the whole figure this single title up here. Okay, I think that probably looks better. And so last thing I want to show is maybe you still find this a little old-fashioned looking. So let me show you some just nice quick ways to change the appearance of like lots of different values. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to say plt.style.use. Okay, and I just want to warn you that once you set this, then even if you come up above and you rerun one of these cells, that's going to change to the new style that we're setting. So we're going to call pyplot.style.use, okay, by using the PLT abbreviation. And then the one I think I'm most used to using is Seaborn Dark Grid. And let me copy and paste this. And so I think already that looks much more modern than this. And there are very many different choices you can use for this style. Different alternatives to this Seaborn Dark Grid. And Seaborn itself is a very nice plotting library that I recommend looking up. So that Seaborn library, it is built on top of Matplotlib. If we call plt.style.available, we can see the different options for these plt.style.use. And I tried to find some way to have a for loop and show all of these. My first attempts did not succeed. So let me just show you one more that I've seen from the documentation. Let's use this ggplot. So plt.style ggplot. Oh, and do you see what I did wrong? Not really worth me even asking that because I don't want you to memorize this, but I forgot the word use. Okay, good. And now this will be the new style. GG, I believe that stands for Grammar of Graphics, which many of my favorite plotting libraries like Seaborn or Altair or Plotly, those are all based on this thing called the Grammar of Graphics. So it looks fairly similar to the Seaborn one, but this is the Grammar of Graphics version. Oh, and I remembered one more example I wanted to give. So up above when we imported the colors. So let's see, that was up here. Let me copy this. And so this gave us access to like how many different things are there in this dictionary. There are 10. So that gave us access to 10 colors, but there are many more than that. So I can also say, let's import CSS4 colors as C colors. And let's look at the length of this C colors. So it has much more. And if you've done some HTML before, I don't know if I want to call it HTML programming, but if you've written in HTML before, maybe you've seen some of these strings as specifying colors. And let's just choose like 6 random ones of this. So let's say RNG equals np.random.default RNG. And let's say colors equals rng.choice. Okay, and let's go to the ccolors.keys. Okay, so that's just going to give me access to these strings, okay, and not to these hex codes. Hopefully that's the right word. And let's ask for 6 of them. Okay, or let's ask for the length of klist of them. Oh, and I guess it wants me to convert it into a list. So maybe I'll leave that so that you can see this error, but a lot of my errors are intentional. This one was not. Let's convert it to a list. Okay, good. So let's see what colors is. Okay, so there are the colors that it shows. And let's just update this one. It's going to still be using ggplot as the style because that was the most recent style I chose. And instead of using this tcolors.keys in the zip, let's use this length 6 list of colors. And now it's going to have 6 random colors. So there are 6 random colors. And if you try it again, you'll see different colors because I did not specify a specific seed when I did this RNG instantiation. So it's going to be different each time I run it. Okay, I hope that gives some examples of just a few of the many different customizations that are available in Matplotlib plots.